Hi, John.
Tony, Ryan, Josie.
So I think I've got 20 people scheduled for this call today.
Oh.
We do have more scheduled than ever before.
You're going to be a really good facilitator to pull this off, Tony.
I'm telling you, I have butterflies in my stomach. I am so nervous. So look at your facilitator. Oh, this is it. Woo! It's going to be a rush, and then it's going to be over, and I'm going to be like, what just happened? Did that just happen?
So Josie, you can make this more difficult for Tony. Just when it's your turn, just talk a really long time so that it messes up the whole schedule, okay?
No, we do not need
You're
any
asking the 5 to talk for a long time.
I know it'll be difficult for you.
No,
But
messing with me.
I'll step into my 8.
there you go. I live in so I'm experienced.
I hope my internet holds up for this. This will be fun to see. Hello, Shannon. It's good to see you.
Shannon.
Oh, what a cool picture.
Oh, I know. Hi, Chad. Great to have you. I'm going to greet everybody as you get on. Hi, Hill. And then we're going to do a little orientation for people who might be watching this either live or in some recording at some moment in time. Hi, Julie. Oh, my goodness. Mel Valentine is in the house. Man, this is an amazing moment. We're going to have some people back that we haven't seen in a long time. You're not the only one, Mel. So super excited for today. Jonathan Johnson's in the house. Sarah Harrington. Hi, Susan. All right, 4, 8, 12. Man, we might have 12 more. I'm going to, I might jump in with the introduction a little bit while people are coming, but I don't want to be rude and not say hi to people. Hi, Tony. It's too fun.
Ireland is here.
Hello.
Woo! You are.
Hold on a sec.
Aw, what a gift to have you with us.
Hi.
Hi. We're so happy you're here, Tony, and so glad to hear the news that cancer has been cleared, right? That was the news.
Well, I've got to check on that. Things are good, but the cancer I had was quite vigorous, so they have me on watch at the moment. So,
okay.
They've taken out my prostate. It was actually a pretty bad form of cancer. They didn't know that till they took it out. But the tests that I did after the operation said it looks good. But I found out last week that they want to keep an eye on me. So I'm feeling fine, but that's a bit of a check in this. I thought I was clear, I wasn't, or I don't know that I am. Sorry, that's the way to put it.
Okay. Thank you for updating us. You are in our hearts, all of us. I know. Oh, hi, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you. Beautiful background.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Well, it is 9 o'clock, so I might go ahead and start with our intro because we're going to do a little intro for those who might be joining us live or watching this video later, the recording of it. So bear with me as I do just a little bit of introduction here. Welcome to the Relational Revolution Live, you guys. Woo! This is our first meeting of the 4 days live. Super excited to be here. We're going to be modeling and inviting over the next 4 days. We're modeling the value shifts for practicing church as heart-to-heart connection that our book talks about. And we're inviting others to join us by training and funding this global movement. So buckle up. It's going to be super, super fun and meaningful and deep, probably in many moments of our time together. This particular meeting is our Luke 10 Facilitators Gathering, where we connect with our Luke 10 facilitators from all over the place. Kapil from India was supposed to be here as well, so hopefully he'll jump on. And we've got Tony Carey from Ireland representing. Our Brits aren't here. I'm not sure where they are. We'll have to track them down later. Our Aussies are sleeping. So some people can't make it because of the time zone difference. Luke 10 facilitator training, just a little bit about that for those who don't know who Luke 10 facilitators are. Our Luke 10 facilitator training is one of our higher levels of training for those who are in our ongoing communities of practice that we call our leader teams. Luke 10's vision is to see a vibrant family of Jesus within reach of everyone on the planet. And we see this by connecting and equipping who we call spiritual moms and dads or facilitators. Luke 10 forms facilitators who can effectively, confidently, and consistently facilitate joy-filled, Jesus-led communities of practice. To become fully listed means you've undergone roughly 80 hours of apprentice training. It's pretty incredible, you guys, especially those of you who are fully listed, where you observe, you practice facilitating, and you debrief your experience with a trainer. Luke 10 has 90 people currently enrolled in this level of training. We've only been doing this for what, 4 years, John? 90 people enrolled from 11 different countries, and 33 people have completed all 80 hours. So for those of you who are joining us live today or watching this video later, we hope that you get a feel of the scope of this movement and that you're encouraged by how God's moving in hearts all over. Notice what you notice about what you're witnessing. And feel free to comment and share observations in the chat box that's in the live channel there. If you're on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, we have a live channel. You can come there and actually chat with us if you want. It's lk10.com/live. We might not answer these questions during our time today because it's going to be full, but we will address them, answer them, and debrief with them at some other moment during the week if we can, which we will be able to as we can. Become a monthly donor. Becoming a monthly donor helps us nurture this level of training as well and continue nurturing spiritual moms and dads all over the world. So that's what part of this is about this week, is getting to know some of these spiritual moms and dads and understanding what we're doing. So welcome everyone to our facilitators gathering. Some of you are brand new to this call because we have had eight facilitators, new facilitators in training in just the last month. So I see some of you on this call, and that's super exciting. And I just want to give a shout out to one of David Knapp, who's not here right. Oh, he is here. David! David is our last one to sign up. So welcome our newest member in this call. We're so happy to have you. Gave shout outs to most of the other people last month. So there's Kapil from India. Welcome. Okay, so the excitement's beginning. We're going to start with our introduction round like we normally do. So we're going to go around, and I want you to say your name, where you are in the world, what level of training you are currently in. Maybe you're fully listed. Maybe you're in leader team. Usually if you don't know what level you're in, it's because you're in leader team and you haven't started yet. Okay, so I'll just give you you've probably completed Church 101 and you went into the abyss and never started your leader team. I won't mention names, but you know who you are. So where are you? Who are you? Where are you? Your level of training that you're in. And then you're going to share an appreciation story. Okay. You are our most trained people in this organization, in this movement. I need it in 2 minutes or less. Okay. We've got a lot of people on the call today. You're going to share an appreciation story. It can be around your training and how that's going, or an experience you had in training. It can be around tend to be answers, maybe, which people live don't even know what that is, but it's houses of peace or apostles that God's brought your way and he's dropped in your lap and he's asked you to train them and connect them to others. So maybe you've had something like that happen and you want to appreciate that and share that. Maybe you've had a Luke 10 in the wild moment where you actually got to meet up with another Luke 10er somewhere and you want to share about that. Maybe it's about the book. Maybe you had an encounter with the book recently and Jesus, and you're like, I just have to share about that. So the appreciation can be varied for our time together. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to take a deep breath. Think about your name, where are you, what level of training you're in, and your appreciation story, and then we'll launch in. Okay? All right. Tony Daniels, Nashville, Tennessee. I have completed all of my training with LK10. And I am, my appreciation story. I was in a cafe on Monday with a man named Scott Harris, if you're out there watching. And I just think an amazing 10 to be answer. He is an elder in this city. He's connected with over 300 churches in this city. He's been supporting nonprofits and churches for many years now, and is speaking our language. So we just had the best time together. Not many people go real deep into shop talk, as I call it, around all things church and church structure and culture. And he was tracking with me, and we were electric, both of us. We didn't want to leave. And he just said, man, I can't wait to listen to the audio version of the book. I bought the book the other day, but I want to hear the audio too. I'm going to share it with everybody. And he said, I'll keep a lookout for people with your DNA and I'll send them your way. And I was like, wow, this is so exciting. And other things evolved as well, but it's just super fun. I felt excited, happy, encouraged that there are people out here that are thinking the way we are thinking, that we can partner with and collaborate with. And just felt really supported. So I'm in and appreciated. I'm in. John White.
John White, Naples, Florida. I think I've been grandfathered in on the training, so maybe Tony will let me be listed. So I got an email this week from a guy who I would describe as a senior leader in a major parachurch ministry. And I want to read you one paragraph of what he said. He said, I have just read Relational Revolution, and my heart is jumping. It shouldn't surprise you that our loving God has been stirring me for a number of years in the direction you've been called into. But we've been assigned different territories, and I'm following the Spirit's nudge to explore whether some joint efforts are warranted. So he and I are going to have a Zoom call on Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this might mean. Very exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Ryan, knee neighbor. Sorry, I know there's two of you. Knee neighbor.
I'm Ryan from Fairbanks, Alaska, and I'm training as a trainer. My appreciation story, you already heard, Tony. I was on a plane from Anchorage to Fairbanks, and before we take off, a guy in front of me, in the seat in front of me, is on the phone and he's talking. And I can tell he's a soldier, and from his conversation, and he's pretty gruff. And then he kind of pauses and stops and says, well, actually, I'm not doing very well. I just lost my best friend. So his best friend died in a helicopter crash and recently. And so I wrote a note and gave it to him and said, if you need somebody to talk to, here's my number, and then just signed it with my name and retired, so that I guess so he'd know. So he ended up calling, and we've been doing check-ins since, and it makes me happy, and I feel it. I don't know, probably in my chest somewhere. Over.
Thank you so much. Incredible.
Yep.
The story is so beautiful. Thanks, Ryan. Josie, welcome.
Hi, I'm Josie Waylert, and this is Nellie, my youngest. You want to say hi? Nope, she just woke up, so we're processing the world. We're in the northeast corner of Colorado. I am training to facilitate leader teams right now. And my appreciation comes from our local leader team last night. We'd had a horrible morning, and the old paradigm was, as pastors, you cannot have horrible mornings and you are always ready to go. And we got home after our people for leader team got to our house, and they just made themselves at home, got inside, got drinks, got the toys out. It was fantastic. And most striking to me, in my exhaustion, I was so ready to see my people. And that's a new experience for me. And I was so loved and held. And as we did our check-in, and I just took a moment, like, let's just stop. Like, what shift did you see happen, as we just did this? Because we've got some very left-brained individuals. And one of those individuals said, I noticed an emotional shift in me, which translated to a physical shift in my body. And I feel relaxed and safe and vulnerable, which then was a gift for me. And I also felt relaxed and safe and vulnerable, and felt that in my whole body. So, amen.
That's incredible, Josie. Thank you. And for modeling what we train ourselves in, right? To observe, to notice, to debrief our experience, because that's where the true learning happens. What a beautiful question. What did you notice just happened as we checked in? Thank you. Oh, so good. Chad, welcome.
Hi, my name's Chad Waller. I live in Simpsonville, South Carolina. And my appreciation story this week, the one that floated to the top, was I was doing an interview for a podcast called Worship from the Revolution. And the guy I was interviewing, and the whole podcast is just about the changing face of worship as the church changes. How is worship changing? And so I was interviewing a guy that has a podcast. He's pretty well known. And it was an amazing setup, a definite Luke 10 to be answered, a prayer, how we even connected. And when I was preparing for the interview, I thought I'm going to explain the Luke 10 rhythms to him and ask him, hey, can we do this before we start the podcast? Because my ninja, Tony Daniels, I watched her do that, and I was like, I'm going to do that from now on. I'm not just going to jump into, and I'm an Enneagram 8, and so I'm usually like to the task. But thank you, Jason Twombly, for teaching me to slow down, to ask questions, and to process. And so I said to the guy, his name is Jason Clark. I said, hey, Jason, can I talk to you about Luke 10? And I explained it to him. And then I just asked him a question. I said, so here's how we're going to do it. Jason, how's your heart today? How are you checking in? And man, what unfolded was so beautiful. It was so amazing. And then he's like, okay, now tell me what is Luke 10? Where do I find that? And so two things I appreciate. I appreciate that I've learned this through Luke 10. I appreciate that I was able to slow down just the way I would naturally do things and say, you know, what's the most important thing today is that we connect. More than getting a good podcast, man, I just want to connect with you and have appreciation story and find out what Jesus is doing in your life, because that's more important to me than the success of this podcast. And y'all, that is something that this Georgia boy has learned the hard way. And I'm just very grateful. I'm so appreciative for Luke 10 and for Jesus teaching me to be led by him. Thank you. All in.
Okay, I have to say, when do I get to hear the podcast? Has it been released yet? Has it been started yet?
Yeah, it's out. It's just I haven't been real vocal about it.
Oh, well, what's it called again? Just so I can
Worship from the Revolution. I did a steady diet of this guy named John White with his stories from the Revolution. And I was like, I want to talk about worship from the Revolution, because that's what burns in my heart. And the church can't just change. Worship has to change. The way we're doing it has to change.
You are a 10 to the answer for our souls all the way, Chad. So in our Discord channel, Chad, for our facilitators, there is our podcast channel where you post every time you release a podcast so we can go listen to it. Okay. Please do. And whoever else is starting a podcast, Jay Twombly, soon, I want to make sure you are posting as well, because I want to listen to your podcasts. You guys are gold, and I want to learn from y'all as much as possible. Thank you, Chad. That's exciting. Ryan Patterson, welcome.
Hey, I'm Ryan Patterson. I'm in Vancouver, Washington, and I am leader team facilitator trained. I would say Man, I had lots of appreciations listening already. One thing I'm thinking about right now is that I'm actually, I'm bivocational, so I'm at work. This is my view out of my office window here, which is pretty nice. And I'm appreciative of bringing Luke 10 rhythms into my team. So when my team meeting starts once a week, we start with appreciations. On Mondays, we share our highlights and lowlights from the weekend. So being able to bring those relational rhythms into my workplace is awesome. But big picture, I'm part of a small church planning network. We meet in homes and storefronts. And so I'm excited about Luke 10 Local. Dan Mayhew, another Luke 10er up here in our area, moved to our city last year. And we've been meeting with him and a few other pastors for prayer on a weekly basis every Thursday afternoon. So I'm grateful for just bringing those rhythms into a local expression with pastors from all kinds of different churches. So that's me, I'm in.
Wow. I'm going to be interviewing Ryan, I think today, right? Ryan? This
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yes.
So if you are interested in bivocational ministry, church planting, or working with pastors, you can't miss this interview because Ryan is a wealth of experience that I can't wait to draw out. So looking forward to that, Ryan. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Tony Carey, welcome.
Hi, Tony. Tony Carey. I'm in a place called Carrigaholt on the west coast of Ireland. Beautiful day here today, which is unusual. I connected with you, Luke 10, nearly 6 years ago. I've done leader training and facilitation training. My story that I'd like to say, the good story that I've had recently is I've been in a leader group and connect with another Luke 10er in England, in the UK. And he rang me 2 weeks ago to say, hey, I'm coming over to you. Very short notice. And last weekend, himself and his wife came and stayed with us. And again, we were blessed. We got a really beautiful day and they got to see the best of what was around here. But it was so good to see someone who I've only ever met on Zoom in the flesh. We had a really, really nice time together. And I'm in a leader group with Neil as well. Just one other thing that I'd like to say that Luke 10 has brought to me is I was on a call this morning with a guy who did the Luke 10 training, and he lives on the other side of the country. His wife has been on the flat of her back for 8 years. He looks after her. COVID was a nightmare. And checking in and listening to Jesus with him on Zoom, just being able to do that has helped both of us, but has been such a blessing to him in the situation that he's in. And I'm so thankful that, you know, we share our hearts regularly, a couple of times a week, and but it's just a wonderful thing. So glad that I learned to do this in Luke 10.
Thank you so much, Tony. I am going to take a second to share the photo, Tony, because it's just that good of you and Neil right here. So Neil Bradshaw's normally on this call too, not here today, but there he is. So we're so happy that you two, that's just, I cried when I saw that, and now I'm trying to stop sharing my screen publicly. There we go. I cried when I saw you two together. It was such a joy. So thank you for sending us the picture. Shannon.
Thanks, Tony.
Hi, friends. I'm Shannon in Traverse City, Northern Michigan. Thanks especially to Ryan for sharing that story about the guy on the airplane. That meant a lot to me. My appreciation is from this past Wednesday. On Wednesdays, I have dinner with my dad. And lately we have been getting out all the old slides and scanning them in, so that they're resurrected, seeing new life. So seeing camping photos from the 70s and stuff, we've just been laughing about that and just really, really enjoying those memories and having a good time. But my appreciation specifically is actually around the book, because my dad always went to church with us. And then when we sort of switched rhythms in our life, he keeps asking me, so what exactly is this Luke 10? And having the book to be able to hand him to kind of give a more succinct answer to what our rhythms are and how this plays out. You know, I've told him stories and everything, but he's a real deep processor. So he told me he would give me his reactions to the book, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about it this Wednesday. So I'm feeling grateful for the authors and for our community.
I'm feeling scared and exposed, but I'm so happy. Looking forward to his feedback as well. Thank you so much, Shannon. Sarah Harrington, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Sarah Harrington. I'm in Stevensville, Montana, and I am in leader team facilitating training with Ryan Neighbor's wife, Leah. And my appreciation story is from our last leader team gathering. And I had been kind of rushing through the day trying to get my chores done to get to my leader team. And I was driving back home that day and listening to Jesus about which appreciation story to share when we gathered together. And as I was driving home, just storm clouds were coming over from the west. All our storm usually comes from the west over the Rocky Mountains. And it reminded me of a time that I'd been sitting down by the river and a storm had blown in. And while I was sitting there just meditating over Psalm 18, and then I had read some of that in our leader team when I was sharing that appreciation story. And it just, like, Leah was listening on the call and she just had to like get up and run off somewhere. And when she came back, she had her Brahms violin concerto music, and she had written Psalm 18 words in it. And so I just felt really affirmed in just listening to Jesus about which appreciation story to share with my leader team, and just excited that we had that extra connection. And now I feel even more grateful because now there's this layer of music that goes with my appreciation story. And then it's just bigger and it's expanded by sharing it with other people. So yeah, just super grateful for that whole experience.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Wow. Incredible. Hillary. Maybe not. No,
I was clicking on mute and it would not unmute. Hello, I'm Hillary. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm a facilitator trainer, currently training 2 people in intro call. And tomorrow I'm going live with our very first intro call training. So if you're like, what are you training? What are facilitators? What's that look like? Come hang out. It'll be fun, maybe. No, it will, I promise. Appreciation is probably going to have to be this whole live stream, everything set up currently as it's happening. We have such an amazing group of people who show up consistently, like all of you guys, and then even in our circles and the people we work with. And it's so like and comforting to know that somebody has your back no matter what, and they're glad to be with you no matter what, even if the live stream like falls apart, or if something goes wrong, or if something technical happens. We're all, I don't know, it just is this ebb and flow of beautiful connection, and it calms my heart in moments like these. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hillary and Zach LaValle, who is on tech right now, are they've almost single-handedly thrown this together, which is incredible. We had an experiment last year with live, and it was very bumpy, rocky. It was the first time ever, and they just learned the ins and outs and decided to host it ourselves and just run with it. So it's incredible, the work that they have done. Thank you, Hillary. Glad you feel supported. You guys have done all of this, so I am just so happy to be on your team.
Thank you. And if it looks like I'm not paying attention, I'm probably on chat or working on something here, but I promise you I am listening.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Susan, welcome. So glad you made it.
Yes, thank you. Susan Ramsey. I am also now fully in Naples, Florida. Yay! and I am a fully listed facilitator. And my appreciation, other than being fully here and just surrounded by boxes, is on Wednesday, I got a text message from a friend of ours who we kind of met through the RV world. Hadn't heard from them in quite a while. And she just said, you know, our life's changed. We sold our RV, you know, kind of gave us an update. And then at the end of her text message, she said, by the way, and she sent a picture, I'm reading your dad's book. And so she had the book and it was like, you know, stretched out on her lap. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. I said, how did you hear about it? And she says, well, you told me about it in March.
Wow.
And I've just been so crazy. I totally forgot. But she jumped on it and got it and she's reading it. And I just told her, I said, you know, love to hear your thoughts. And so totally random person, you know, that I just didn't even think about, you know, sending her a copy or anything, but she was already on it and looking forward to reading it. So
Wow.
that's it. I'm in.
Thank you. A rush of joy. That's exciting. Thank you so much. Jason Twombly.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Twombly and I'm tuning in from Simpsonville, South Carolina. And I'm one of the trainers with LK10. And I am sharing something that happened on Friday. So it was part of as part of my appreciation. I was in a trainers meeting gathering circle with Tony and Ryan. And I lasted about maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. And so I checked in. I was just not feeling great. I was nauseous. But I'm like, you know, I'll just go as far as I can. And I think I remember Ryan asking me a question, and I like to listen well and answer questions, but I think I just didn't answer it quite coherently. And Tony, I felt really known in this culture of permission to leave when you need to. Jason, is there anything we need for you right now? Do you need to leave? And so, and I did. So I left that call. And so I'm really grateful. There's permission to leave, there's permission to rest, there's permission to take a nap. And I did do another training call, and then I did a church 101 after that. And then violently was gone for the rest of the weekend. So I'm hoping to remain on the call. I can be here. But I feel so supported that the work goes on without me, without anyone here, because we're more of a starfish than a spider. And so I was able to rest my starfish self, fueled by delight. And even seeing the grace on each face here, I feel really buoyant in this moment. So
I'm so sorry you got sick, or we were hoping you had recovered, and I meant to follow up over the weekend, but didn't hear from you. So I was like, oh no, he's either sick or he's well and having fun. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Scott, welcome.
Yeah, I'm Scott Prindle from Tetonia, Idaho, and I have just begun Church 101 facilitator training with Dennis from Russia. We had a great first Zoom. It was awesome. He's going to be fun, I can tell. My appreciation has to do with Luke 10:2b. I started Church 101 back in March, set my phone to 10:02 a.m. and p.m. And I'm blown away. Just even being here with all of you is part of that. The divine appointments and connections, too many names to mention, but they all have one thing in common. They're seasoned leaders walking in true humility. I think they're part of an apostolic company is what I call them. And out of that, we've developed a really close relationship with Kent and Kathy Larson from Radius Network, and we have scheduled our first Wild. It's June 22nd through the 25th here in the Tetons, and we are so excited. It's going to be awesome.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Scott. For those who don't know, Luke 10 Wild is this year we are decentralizing our global conference, and we're telling our people and releasing them and giving them permission to host their own gatherings with each other. And so that is so exciting to hear, Scott. I can't wait to see photos. Make sure you guys get on the live on the Wild channel and share and encourage all of us with that. Thank you. Good to have you with us. David Knapp, welcome.
Hello, my name is David Knapp. I am living in Claremore, Oklahoma. It's northeast Oklahoma. My level of training is I'm beginning to do the facilitator training for intro calls. My appreciation story, I have one of two. I think I was going to do one, I'll do the other. There's I live in a new neighborhood. I've only lived here since November. I guess it's not new anymore. It's like, what, 6 or 7 months now. And there's just a really eccentric guy down the street. And I'm a very quiet guy and kind of slow. And he's very fast and pacey, and he's all over the place. And I mean, he's got on the front of his truck, he has a Darth Vader that's got like this skeleton hostage. And so he's very, very interesting. And then I saw him, this is down at the end of the neighborhood. And then we have this plot of land right next to our house. And I saw him out there mowing the lawn. I was like, oh man, that guy's out there mowing the lawn. He owns the place right next to us. And then about a month later, my dad came over. I don't have a lawnmower, so my dad mowed my lawn. And then he mowed his lawn. And I was like, oh no, he mowed that. I hope that guy's okay with that. And then one night I got a big pounding on my door. And I opened the door and it's that guy. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And so my adrenaline just started, dumped into my system, and I was scared. And he said, "Did you mow my lawn?" And I said, "My dad did." And so I think he could tell I was scared. He like reached out and gave me a fist bump. I was like, "Thank you. You can do that anytime you want." And so I decided to go outside and make a conversation with him. But I was glad. I'm like appreciative to get that out of the way. He's a nice guy. And I don't think I had any reason to be scared. Wow. And so right now we go through our neighborhood sometimes and we pray for people. He's one of the ones I'm praying for.
Wow. Thank you so much, David. I'm reminded that I don't even think I've connected you with your trainer yet, have I? So big reveal for you. Ben Hamilton, our Aussie trainer, is going to be yours, and I'll connect you today on email. I'm so sorry that I did not do that on Friday. I meant to do it on Friday. So you haven't been forgotten. You will be cared for. Ben's awesome. So you're going to really enjoy him, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appeal, welcome. Name, where are you from, level of training, and an appreciation story.
Everyone, I feel really excited to be part of this wonderful facilitator gathering for the first time. So I'm Kapil Paul from Chandigarh, India, the northwest part of India. So I'm a fully listed facilitator by now, and I'm really excited for my training in Luke 10. Well, my appreciation story comes from the Church 101 course that I've just completed recently with a group of 6 people from Canada, a great group, it just completed recently. And so one of the men in the group, he was sort of like, he had so many questions before, in the first week of our Church 101 course. And at first he thought like, we were spreading some kind of false teaching, some kind of heresy that, like we were asking people to, break free from the larger churches. So he said, what is Luke 10 really doing? So this guy really had lots of questions, and he didn't want to like really sort of agree with the emotional part that we talk about. But I just want to really tell you that by week 5 he was a changed man, and he was a different person altogether. And I just feel so so happy for the kind of transformation that God brought into his life, and of course, everybody else that was there in that group. So yeah, I just feel
Thank
good
you
for
so
that.
much, Kapil. Yeah. And thank you. You're in a second language doing this work, which is not easy. And I think it just speaks volumes. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And if they don't know Howard, we need to connect them to Howard as well. So Howard, why don't you jump in? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Howard Corbett from Winnipeg, Canada, which is right in the central middle of Canada. I'm a listed facilitator. My appreciation story is a small one and a full one. Just want to say I appreciate the new book a lot. Using it for starting conversations, and it's probably the easiest way I've found of trying to introduce people to the fact there's a whole different way of doing relationship, and it's critical. I'd like to tell a story about a group. This is that I'm building communities for medical treatment of vaccine injury, and we have this group of about 27 patients, and then another 20 or so healthcare professionals that are either being trained to treat or are being treated. And I've been given the privilege of creating community exercises for these groups. And so they do the treatments and the education part for treatment. And then we go into breakout groups. So I give them a topic to think about, put them in breakout groups, get them to talk to each other. And they do that for about 20 minutes, and we come back and debrief. And it's been absolutely so amazing. I mean, you got these, the last one we did, we're sitting there and people are chatting away. And I see this guy sitting, sort of lying on his bed with his hand over his face like this. And I go, Adam, can you want to bring us up to date on what's going on? And you got to remember that the level of pain going on in these people's lives, the problems. One lady described her situation as if you poured gas over her legs and lit it on fire, and she has this nerve pain going on. Or if you took a spike and punched it through your foot, is like the level of intensity is constant. And these people are coping with just incredible, just trying to survive. When we started, we were wondering whether people would die as we were trying to help them. So it's very intense. And then they have no community. They've got no place to go where they can tell their story. And now they have community. And there's tears. This guy who he had a setback and he was just struggling to function. And he says, I'm so struggling. He says, I'm in great pain. I'm moaning. He says, but I need to keep my video on because I got to stay connected with you guys. I got to stay where I'm known and I've got a community. And I'm getting to treat these people, and they go, this community is as important as all the treatments. Like, this is where my energy comes from. And it's just amazing. So we're talking, and it's amazing how the spiritual weaves into this, because it's obviously a secular group. And someone says, would you pray? And I says, who are you asking to pray? And they didn't answer. And some woman, Julie, jumps up and says, I'll pray. And you obviously, a mature, caring, loving Christian just starts praying for the whole group. And this is so welcome. You pray for us, you got to pray for each other. And so and I think I've met about half a dozen tend to be answers in this group.
Wow.
People that just really care about community and are active and engaging, and they're Christians, and just an amazing opportunity. So I started thinking about all this and says, who am I? What's my brand? What's my consulting? What do I do? And I rechanged all my branding. And my branding is now Howard Corbett, the community builder, and building community for companies and for treatment groups that are trying to have an impact. How do you build community around that? And we have a whole digital system for building community that's part of it, and so on. And
Robert, I'm going to stop you for a second because I want to highlight something that is really unique, I think, about Luke 10's training. And that is, you're not doing a Luke 10 thing. You're out there in the world doing a secular thing, but doing it in a joy-filled, Jesus-led way. And our training with Luke 10, when we train you as a facilitator, we don't train you to just facilitate an intro call in Church 101 and a leader team, although we use those as containers where we can observe you and give feedback. We train you to live joy-filled, Jesus-led in every aspect of your life, in every place. So thank you for sharing that, because that is important, I think, for our viewers to see and hear. And you have been living that brilliantly in church environments or small group environments and church planting environments, but also in your secular career, which really, when we're living joy-filled and Jesus-led, nothing is secular, everything is sacred. And you're finding that sacredness in your vocation as well, in your
So
work.
here's the opportunity. I think this is worth saying. We have a research community, we have scientific roundtables, and I got to talk. I said, I want to speak about community. So I give this talk on community and how the COVID has fractured relationships. It's just all types of people have no friends left. They've lost all their friends. They've been outcasts. And they go, we got to rebuild this community infrastructure in our society that's been shattered. And as we got talking about it, you'll love this, Tony. I said, talk about something. Does anyone have a story that you want to tell, right? And so this is with a couple hundred people, right? And someone starts telling their story, and they're starting to cry at how fractured their life is. And I says, don't be embarrassed. Just tell your story. We want to hear you. And we have this just high vulnerability moment amongst these scientists, right? And we're going into this, and it's like, yes, this is at the core. This is a core problem. And then I got feedback from people. They've been doing these scientific presentations on different science, and it's all around COVID and how it's being twisted and the science being twisted. And people go, this is the best presentation that we've had in 3 years. And we're just going, there's such a thirst and an opportunity for people that have lives have just been relationally shattered. And how do you rebuild connection? Yeah. So the book, the title of your book.
But I just want to say, you're changing culture, not just in church. We're changing culture everywhere.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for that story and for modeling that. It is the vision. This is who we are as the people of God, being in the world, changing every culture.
It's amazing how thirsty people are for this.
Thank you. Jonathan Johnson, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Jonathan Johnson from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. I'm a fully listed facilitator and a trainer in training so that we can build up the facilitator community just that much more. I'm going to go back to 3 days ago, Friday morning, when I was meeting with a leader team consisting of 2 couples from Shannon's town. One of whom is her dad's next door neighbor. That's how they got connected. We are recently, just because of people moving around in their family, we are cat foster parents. We've never had a cat. And so I shared an appreciation story about the cat. And then like everybody was sharing appreciation around their cat stories, which in and of itself was amazing. We got at one point, this group has been really, really close to hearing from one individual and what he was struggling with. How can we support you? We ended up praying together for him when he asked for that. And there was just one word that came out that I thought, oh, this just seems like the word to describe what's happening here. And it was extremely meaningful for them. Later on, we were listening for insight from the Lord about John 15:11. I have shared these things with you so that my joy may be in you, your joy may be full. And we just wanted to know, Lord, what does that mean? How do you bring that? Show us. So we all listened, and ecosystem of grace, one of our values. Everybody just had different things to share about that, different perspectives. But I was seeing in that it's not just what he speaks to us, it's the fact that he speaks to us that puts his joy in us. And afterward, I was reflecting on that again, and I realized the fact that I just had one word to share that was really significant, that they took away as, yes, that was something that I needed to hear. I thought that was him speaking and us responding with joy. I saw it unfolding. So many of the Luke 10 values just wrapped up in that as we were both joy-fueled and Jesus-led as a community of practice, everybody using their gifts together. It was wonderful. So I just felt surprised and just rejoicing in all of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Reflecting. Thank you.
Beautiful. Communities of practice are such a significant part of our lives, right? And so beautiful. Thank you. Mel, welcome back. It's been a long time. Maybe you need to introduce yourself.
You bet. My name is Mel Valentine, and I am living right now in East Idaho. So Scott, Prindle, I am overjoyed to hear them. I'm only 30 minutes from you. So that's pretty cool. We're in Rigby, Idaho. Yes, like
Julie
Tony mentioned.
There too, Mel, so she's like blowing her head. Okay, so she'll be next if she has a moment.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So we, as Sonny said, I stepped away for a while. We went on this crazy RV journey for a year, and we're finally settled again. And I mean, it's been amazing. I had the opportunity to do the audiobook for Relational Revolution.
Real quick,
And
when he says do the audiobook, he means he was our audio editor. So when you listen to the book, thank you, Mel, for all the editing.
Oh, you're so welcome. And it was amazing. So, you know, I felt led to start coming back to our facilitator meetings. Back a year ago, I led Church 101 groups and was in a leader group. And yeah, so my appreciation story, we have this amazing 8-year-old autistic nonverbal kiddo. And, you know, we are a special needs family and we're always celebrating milestones and all that good stuff. But just like 2 days ago, we had a really cool experience. And it was basically my son was in his iPad and I was looking for the TV remote. You know how the TV remote always gets lost. So he just stood up and we didn't know he could point, but he pointed towards where it was. It was in a very high shelf. But just just seeing him being able to process what I was asking for, reaching out to where it was and pointing at it, it was just overwhelming. We felt tender, we felt happy, we felt just so grateful to the Lord as we see Jesus just in our midst and in our journey, autistic journey. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, so that's my appreciation story.
Thank you so much, Mel. And if you haven't met Julie McKnight, that could not have been a better introduction for Julie to share. Julie, jump right in and make a connection.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. I haven't done this on the phone before. I had to pull over. I am beside myself. I want to cry, honestly. This is amazing. Mel, I live in Victor. And we're a special needs family as well. I have a 16-year-old nonverbal child. So I'm just delighted. This is my supreme appreciation story. I am blown away. Mel, I cannot wait to meet you. And you're so close. You're so close. We have to connect. And I'm just blown away. I don't know what. Wow, amazing. It's fascinating what God's doing. I just started another Church 101. Well, actually, I'm halfway through with another local in Jackson, Wyoming. And the other gal in our group is a special needs mom. She has a 16-year-old daughter who is nonverbal. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's been on my heart to start Church 101s for families like ours. Yeah. So I think the time is now.
And it looks like so many 10-2B answers, Julie, coming your way in your local environment. I can't even, this is blowing my mind.
I know.
Wild,
I'm
June 22nd through 25th. I think you're in the vicinity there. Make sure you guys emails. Yes. And on Discord, you should have each other on Discord as well. Incredible.
Absolutely. Yay.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow.
And
All
Scott,
right.
it's so great to see you.
So we are going to transition to our training snippet now. We have 40 minutes left almost, and we run always in these calls. So with the joy that we have of our stories. I have been training several leader team facilitators this season. We started like 4 leader teams or something. It was crazy. And I've had the privilege of accompanying 4 leader team facilitators right now. And one of the things that keeps coming up in our training is people learning our culture, and they're kind of like, well, it's too structured. I don't like all this structure. I don't like having to check in and listen. That's not organic. And our facilitator's like, I don't know what to do with that. And then we have other people that are like, it's not structured enough. You guys are way too free. Like, you listen to Jesus. Like, I want the outline. I want to know what the learning goal is here. It's like, I don't know what to do with these 2 extremes. Like, what do I do? Because some of us want to morph and change who we are to please people, right? And so Luke 10, we share with them in our training portal, which most of you know. If you haven't gotten a leader team trainer yet, just hold on, because this is where all this comes through, is our leader team facilitator training. We spend a good bit of time talking about the river of integration, the river of wholeness, and that wholeness is like a river with 2 banks. One bank is chaos and one bank is rigidity. And if you get too chaotic or too rigid, you're going to end up on a bank somewhere and you're not going anywhere. So the idea is to stay in the center of what some people would call biblical tension, or the center of the tensions of holding this chaos and this rigidity. Our God is a God of tensions. He didn't just create a chaotic world. He created a world with incredible order, and yet there's still spontaneity all over the place. So he holds these tensions together. And I think as a culture, he asks us to as well. So that's part of our training. And most of you have had these lessons around, how do we balance relationships and our rounds and our curriculum? How do we do that? And it's all about holding intention and listening to Jesus, following him. So we have a plan and we listen to Jesus, which is so weird to hold that tension, right? Some other tensions that Luke 10, I want to throw these tensions out. And as I'm throwing these out, I want you to listen around which tension has impacted my life the most, or which one do I appreciate the most, or how has this changed the way I facilitate or the way I live? So be listening, because that's the reaction round to this. So here's some other tensions that my husband and I a few years back were marveling over that Luke 10 holds together. We're viral, yet sustainable. We're disciple making, yet evangelistic. We're micro, church of 2, yet global. We're high tech. We meet on Zoom. We have Discord, yet we're high touch. We're highly relational. Seemingly contradictions, right? We're spontaneous, yet we're structured. We're spirit-led and skill-based. Blows people's minds, right? I want to just follow Jesus. Well, unfortunately, you can't really follow him if you don't have relational skills. And that requires being trained, which requires discipline, which feels like the exact opposite of spontaneity and spirit-led, right? But tensions to be held, not problems to be solved. Unity, yet incredibly diverse, right? This differentiation and linkage piece. We highly value each individual, what they bring to the table, their gifting, and yet we link together in that as well. Soul care and missional. Can you actually merge the two? Yes, Jesus did. They were never separate in his mind. They were held in tension. Faith-based and science-based. It can happen. So give about 20 seconds before I start our reaction round. If you don't have anything to say and you're just like, I am so good, this is good, I want to enjoy the conversation, just give me a thumbs up in the reaction round and we'll move on. If you do speak, we might need to keep it to a minute if you can. 20 seconds, 15 seconds to think, which one of these tensions, and maybe there's some I didn't even mention, impact you the most? What do you feel the most? What are you drawn to the most? Or what's changed the way you facilitate or your culture or your community the most? I'm like, do I start with the introverts first or the extroverts? Ryan neighbor.
For me, the one that stood out was spirit-led and skill-based. For most of my life, and I still have to fight it constantly, I'm living out of my left brain. And skill-based, like in my job, that was where I lived. And then spirit-led meant in the morning I would read my Bible, or, you know, before a mission or after a mission, I would pray. But during the mission, I was like any other atheist. And so I had experience where those two met in the last mission of my last deployment in Iraq, and it blew my mind. And then Luke 10 has been helping me do it since.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
Over.
Josie.
All right, I've still been listening. My kids are just requiring me. The faith and science basis. I'm very, very much like you, Ryan. And I mean, actually, yesterday I was filling in at a traditional church, leading the worship there, and had to stop and explain a little bit of some of the brain science that was happening for people. And it was such a beautiful, like, science is not something to be feared. Pure science actually facilitates a lot of beauty in our faith. So the joining of those just gives me a lot of joy.
Thank you, Josie. Yeah, thank you. Chad.
So for me, it's skilled based versus spirit led, or and for the exact different reason than Ryan. It was very interesting to hear Ryan say that, because mine is, having been raised in a charismatic church, it was all spirit, you know, emotions and feeling. And it's just amazing to me that I've found learning skills has taught me, emotional skills has helped me connect more deeply to spirit than I ever would have imagined it could. And being in my right brain a lot, learning to live in my left brain and even understand the emotions I'm experiencing has changed everything for me.
Wow. Thank you, Chad. Thank you. Ryan, I didn't expect to cry during this round. Y'all are killing me. Ryan.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a pastor teacher. I love teaching people the Bible. And so I think the balance for me as a teacher is this idea of being intentional with my content, because I have a stewardship there to teach the whole counsel of God, but then entrusting the Spirit to do the work that He's going to do today in the people that are listening. So I've started to think about this idea of the capital W word, that we are going to spend time with the Word, which means the literal Word of God and the Jesus Word of God that speaks to us in the Spirit. And so holding that tension and just releasing the learning objectives, as you talked about, I think, to the Spirit has been a great tension for me, as I'm still intentional about the content.
Wow. Thank you.
Sure.
Sarah Harrington.
Yes, I think the tension that I feel often is the tension between small church and big church. Small church being like small groups where I feel more nurtured, but also being called into serving in a bigger traditional church. So that's the tension that I feel often. And just appreciating a picture that Jesus gave me several years ago of the suspension bridge, and just understanding that it's the tension that gives the bridge its strength. That's what holds it up. And not wanting to, and learning to not pull away from the tension, but to see it as an invitation to press in and understand and to be there. Because honestly, if I didn't have it, I would be really comfortable and I probably wouldn't ever do anything. So just learning to welcome that tension and let Jesus use it to motivate me for what he wants me to do.
Thank you. So beautifully said. Thank you. Yeah. Shannon.
I think the one that raises to my mind is, I'm not sure that it's one that you said, Tony, but this tension, certainty and curiosity. I was raised in a massive evangelical machine in California where certainty is your only play. You just have to be certain about everything. And it's very fear-based and not Jesus-led, in my view. So being in Luke 10, learning to ask curious questions, really honing my listening skills, both to people and to the Holy Spirit, has been life-changing. So
Thank
that's
you.
the one that stands
Added
out to me.
List 100%. Thank you. Wow. So good. Jason.
For me, it's the tension between spontaneity and structure. When I think of the church description in the Bible, it talks about it being nimble as a bride, but also stalwart as a building. And I'm finding that there is this river flow in my training where I'm not only wanting to become a river, but I'm becoming the river in Psalm 46 that makes glad the city of God. And I shared this poem from my friend David Tenson in Discord, and I could do this within 1 minute. And for me, this embodies the heart cry of what it means to be that river that makes glad the city of God. Our souls are a river in flow, whose banks and bed are built by every interaction, whose ways and waters change with every passing breath. I want to be a wide river, not a narrow brook you simply step over and forget, but wide enough to be considered before crossing. I want to be a slow river, not an ocean so wild the innocent dare not enter, but slow enough that even the lame feels safe to wade in. I want to be a deep river, full of life and nourishment, moving through nations with many streams, unable to be dammed by dogma or doubt. One day, one fine and inevitable day, we will find ourselves emptied out into the great ocean of things, adding to it our own minuscule moments. But until that moment, until the moment my soul ceases to be held as this body, the kind of soul I want to be, I really want to be, is a fat soul, a big, fat, and generous soul. So that integration of the river is embodied in that poem. And that is, I think, the biggest thing that I'm getting from this training pathway. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Thank you so much. Susan.
Yeah, so I actually wrote down the spirit-led and skill-based, but I don't need to go into explanation because Chad and Ryan did such a great job. It's like, yeah, that too. So I'm in.
So good. Thank you. Tony Carey.
Yeah, like Shannon, I spend most of my life in a very rigid church. 3 songs in the sermon, guaranteed every Sunday morning. That changed. People got upset. But in the midweek meeting, which was a prayer meeting that I was in, there was no structure at all. People just prayed, but didn't connect them. then I introduced the rhythms, and actually several people left because they thought this is not the way we do it. But there was a whole different flow. First, we got to know each other. We got to know what was going on in each other's lives. And the Spirit ministered when we listened to Jesus, and it really changed everything. And I wouldn't have anything else after that.
Ruins you for life, doesn't it? We try not to be too structured, but we bring in enough structure so Jesus can show up. That's our goal, right?
That's it.
Not too much, but
two simple rhythms. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. So true. David.
I just wanted to say I'm appreciating everybody's answers, and I'm just going to keep listening for right now.
Thank you. Kapil.
Yeah, well, I think for me, it would be spirit-led and skill-based. I would say that, I have been raised in a very skill-based environment all my life, ever since I became a follower of Jesus. And I studied theology for 5 years, and there were times like I taught about God myself, and like being to a church, always like talked about God, but never really experienced that experience of God. We've always heard things like in the theology, God is omniscient, God is all powerful, but never really experienced the power of God until I really became part of LK10. So that, and I think I really see this tension. I mean, also uh, throughout the world, all across the globe, in most of the churches, even in India, I get to see that lots of churches, they are just focusing on the spirit part, and they are not like focusing on the sound teaching of God's word. While there are other churches, I've been a pastor in a traditional church. This church was so Bible based that at some point they just they almost denied the work of the Spirit, even though they said they believed in the Spirit, but didn't really see the work of the Spirit happen there. So I think it's just the balancing the both is what I would take, from
Thank you,
here.
Kapil. And you're bringing out another very important thing, and that is that the kingdom culture confronts every culture. So Kapil's in India, and he sees these same issues of going to a consistent extreme instead of staying in the center of biblical tension. Even in India, every culture has this problem, and the kingdom culture resolves it or holds it all in tension. So we're not trying to talk about an American culture, because all of these things in our book, they confront American culture too. This is the kingdom culture that we're describing, that most of us haven't fully experienced, that we're trying to live out together. Thank you, Kapil. Jonathan.
Yeah, I think integral to what you described in the rigidity versus chaos is how we lead, even with the title that we give ourselves as facilitators, those who make easy the growth and the process that groups use. So I'm in a group and I have an outline that I'm following, but I'm also paying attention to what's going on in the group and in me and what the Spirit is saying. So that the tension is me learning how to hold the reins, aware of the movement of this organism that is our group, with the hand of our Lord over mine to show me what's next. So you just really have to both release and hold what's happening in the group. And it's amazing to see what God does when that tension is held just right.
Thank you, Jonathan. So well said, which is why we practice and observe so much, right? Because that paying attention piece is crucial. Quieting yourself, paying attention, so much maturity goes into being able to hold these tensions well. Mel.
The one that I'm thinking about is very technical or technological, but at the same time, very relational. When I was going through relational revolution, the Lord was just taking me to all those experiences I had in church 101 groups and leader groups, and just reminding me of how deep relationships were made there, how we were all vulnerable, and at the same time we learned from each other. It was just experiencing those feelings all over again while reading the book. And I feel that all of this happens by Jesus being there all the way and leading everything. So it's just beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Mel. John White, anything else to add to that?
I was thinking that I was ordained 50 years ago as a Presbyterian pastor. And Shannon, we were certain about everything. We had the Westminster Confession of Faith. It's all sorted out. And then I realized that Jesus was Jewish. And the Hebraic mindset is not either or, but it's always both and. There's this dynamic tension. The result of that is I find I spend a lot less time with theological arguments because there's usually some truth on both sides of things. So that's a place where it's worked out for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Hillary, do you have anything to add? All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for teaching us. I love that our community gets to learn from each other's experiences. It's so beautiful. We're going to go into a listening and closing round because we do that. We listen to Jesus always, and then we always reflect on what we're hearing, what we're experiencing. This listening round is going to be slightly different because we are in the Relational Revolution Live. So for the closing round today, I'm going to ask that we all listen around becoming strategic partners with Luke 10. God, what does that look like for me? Do you want me to be a strategic partner, meaning a monthly donor? This is an incredible revolution that's happening globally. Luke 10 has, for whatever reason, been given a privilege of stewarding and nurturing the people God is bringing to us, unsolicited for the most part, just God raising up these people and bringing them. But we can only do that because we have people that are generously giving so that we can continue to nurture this. Maybe you already give monthly, but maybe you want to listen around increasing that. We develop resources with the finances that we get. So as you know, we write books and we develop training materials for you guys. We coordinate the global training. So all the coordination, this call, all of that can happen because of the monthly donations we get. And then we get to continue to experiment with Church's Secure Attachment, which right now, I really believe we're the only organization on the planet that I know of doing this. And I've talked with lots of people who have lots of connections with lots of church planters and nonprofits. And they're like, nobody's doing this. No one's talking Church's Secure Attachment. So for whatever reason, God has given us the privilege of even experimenting and exploring with what this looks like. But we can only continue to press into that as you generously give so that we can do that. And we listen to Jesus on everything, right? So we don't guilt people into giving. We put the vision out there and we say, let's listen, because Jesus might say to you, nope, you got to receive right now. But he might say, yes, 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 and yes, whatever's on your heart, do it. So we're going to take just 1 minute of silence. And I want you to listen. God, what would you like me to know about funding this movement? Because maybe he wants you to commit to pray for funders. Maybe that's what he wants you to do, right? So I don't want to try to invent what God has for you in this. I want you to listen. And then a one-word closing. So you'll listen around kind of your one phrase, one sentence closing round of what did you see happen today? What was most important for you? You don't have to share when we do our closing round what you heard about finances unless you just want to. And if you want to, you can, but don't feel obligated. But yes, you will share a closing word or a closing phrase of what value did you see happen among us? What's God doing? What do you take away from this call? What are you leaving with? What was most important for you? Any variety of that question is our closing round for you to think about that. Okay. Going to give us at least 30 seconds to think about that before we jump in and listen. Give you about 10, 15 more seconds. And those online who might be watching, I hope you're listening as well. Right. I can't wait to increase my donation. I actually been planning it all year, waiting for today to do it. So I can't wait. That's what I heard. I'm excited. And then my closing is community of practice, but really it came to me more like a learning community of ninja warriors. It is such a privilege to be able to run with you guys. I'm in. Ryan, neighbor.
I think I heard stick with the amount I'm giving right now and interdependent freedom.
Thank you. Chad.
I felt the Lord encouraging me to change my focus and believing just for our needs, and to begin to believe to help fund the mission, to just change my focus and my prayers. And then the phrase I got was the beauty of skilled connection.
Hillary. Sarah. It's like, what's that?
Yeah, I was just reminded of when I first joined the leader team and still working through some woundedness and some skepticism around giving and trusting and all of that. And just remembering God's just saying, test the fruit, and having that freedom to just see and reflecting on just how good the fruit has been. And so my word, our takeaway from this time is just wholesomeness.
Thank you so much. Shannon.
My takeaway today is joy. I feel like my cheeks hurt because I'm so much smiling for so long. I'm really happy to be with you.
Thank you. Josie.
I just heard that this community is a greenhouse for my very tender soul. I feel very safe.
Thank you so much. So glad you're with us. Jason.
We're holding you in our hearts, Josie, at this moment. I think the hug is still there. I am going to be curious with my podcasting partner, with the Lord, about how those sorts of things that I'm learning about could be used to also reciprocate generosity towards Luke 10. And then secondly, my takeaway was the streaming tears on my face when I was hearing Mel, whom I haven't met yet, speak and connect with Julia McKnight. Yesterday, I was just walking around my room and the blue flame of the Spirit came in my heart and said, Jason, remember the special needs community that you burn for, that he burns for? Keep praying into it so that these parents with children with special needs will be supported with these rhythms. And to hear it the next day, because we haven't spoken about it in a while, is my takeaway of how wild our God is. So I'm grateful.
Thank you. Susan.
My closing word is relational.
Thank you. Ryan.
I was thinking about, I think the phrase that stood out to me in your question was about strategic partner. Thinking about how we continue to cultivate communities of practice here locally, and continue to support Luke 10 as we do. And I think the phrase that came to my mind as a closing word was extended family. We're actually in Matthew 12 this week, where Jesus' mother and brothers come to interrupt him from the mission. And he says, who is my mother and brothers? But it's the ones that do the will of God. And the thing that I've been struck with this week is that this comes in the context of thinking about the Pharisees who have it all together, who know all the answers. And it's this ragtag group of people who will deny him, betray him, question him, leave him, desert him, and yet he restores them and makes them spiritual parents for the new age. So pretty cool to be part of the extended family.
Thank you. When you put it that way, sounds like a rough group to belong to.
Isn't it though? I'm pretty rough.
Maybe, yes, probably so. Probably so. Tony Carey.
Yeah, as I was listening, I heard Jesus reminding me to continue, as he has been all along with Luke 10, to prompt me. He prompts me when I feel the need, they need something or whatever. So yeah, I'll keep my ears open on that one. And my takeaway is whenever we meet in the larger groups is the diversity of what God is doing. It's just wonderful. You know, different people, different places, all connected. It's really wonderful. Yeah, I love it. Feel part of something much bigger.
Thank you. David.
My takeaway is listening skills. I'm just so impressed with Luke 10's community and the listening skills. I think that it would be helpful if out in the world beyond Zoom, it'd be helpful if we all had our own Zoom mute button and just listen to people.
Thank you. Well, Kapil.
My takeaway is I can see multifaceted wisdom of God manifested in the group. Like everybody sharing, everybody has got something to share to bring to the group.
Thank you. Jonathan Johnson.
Very good reflection of how we hold our tensions. The phrase I have is intentionally relational. For people new to this call or for people who just happen to be watching, the fact that we went in rounds and had everybody share with each thing that we were talking about, the fact that we spent the first half of our meeting just listening to each other, telling stories and appreciating that. And then lastly, the fact that when somebody shared something so tender and vulnerable, we didn't just say, okay, thanks, moving on. It was quiet. And even thank you, Jason, for following that with quiet and showing our response and honoring that. I love how we do that.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for observing and reflecting. Mel.
I heard Jesus ask me to rejoin as a strategic partner. And my takeaway is 2 words: joy-filled and joy-fueled.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So good to have you. John White.
So our book is about the idea of a massive change in church culture that we think is underway. And I coupled that with the phrase that the way you change culture is by telling an alternate story. And I think a lot of the stories that you guys told today are alternate. They're different from standard church culture. And this is part of the way that's going to change. So loved it.
Thanks. Thank you. One last announcement, maybe not last announcements. If you begin a new monthly donation during this campaign, or you increase your monthly donation, you do get a free copy of Relational Revolution, as long as you're the first 25. I think we only have 25 copies, something like that. So
Audiobook.
Audiobook, yes, the free audio, which is read by none other than John White himself, edited by Mel. So it is beautiful to listen to John White reading this book. It's not even that expensive to buy, but we'd love to give it away for free for those who become donors this week. And so you should get, if you make a donation, you should get an email saying, click here to claim your free book, your free audiobook. If you don't get that and you increase your donation, for example, and maybe it's a check that you write, or maybe it's your bank, just email me or community@luke10.com, and we'll make sure you get the link so you can get your free copy of the book. Okay. Hillary, can you just share with us the rest of the schedule for today? In case people are interested, you are muted.
Of course.
Luke10.com/live if you guys want to check that out.
So coming up in a minute, but probably with like a 5-minute bio break, is How We Govern Ourselves with Dr. Ken Smith, talking about divine governance, sociocracy, what are circles, what are rounds, why do we care about every voice being heard, how do we function?
I have that coming up in an hour. Do I have the wrong time on that? I have it at 11:30 Central Time.
Yeah, no, look, that's right. 11:30 Central Time. I'm looking at it as Central and reading my Eastern time right here on all of my computers.
Okay.
So
Welcome
in
to
an
Luke
hour
10.
at 11:30 Central, not Eastern, How We Govern Ourselves. And then 12:30 Central, I'm going to meet with Bethany, and it's a segment called Living the Revolution, Implementing the Rhythms of Attention in Mental Health and Childcare Settings. And that is going to be all about what Bethany is doing in church and children's church, and then also in mental health spaces and with professionals that she's working with as well. Then at 2 p.m. Central, we have Living the Revolution again, this time implementing rhythms of attention in church planting movements with Ryan Patterson. Then to end the day at 3 p.m., another segment of Living the Revolution with implementing the attention with the staff at InterVarsity and Colleen Caskey, and what that was like, what it was like before she implemented it. What was it like implementing it? What's it like now? And how has it changed the structure and dynamic of her group and of her staff?
Beautiful. Thank you so much. The other schedules for the other days are on our live website. So if you want to look ahead for tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday, so you can plan your schedule, go there. Thank you all for joining us today.
All of this is showing up live on Facebook in our Luke 10 Facebook group. So it's kind of fun to get on there and then click share so that other people get to see what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Also, sorry, Justin, we are also live on Instagram and YouTube.
On Instagram too? Oh, that's new. Okay. Wow. Amazing. You guys pulled this off quick. All right. Love you all. Thank
Thanks,
you
friends.
for beginning this together. That's the best way to do it. Love to all of you. Take care.
Great. So we are technically still live. Would you like to, I'm going to turn us off Instagram. I don't know if I can do that.